Imagine this. You live your entire life working, paying bills, stressing over money, and then when you die, your debt doesn't die with you. It follows your family, your kids, your spouse, your parents. And in America, this happens to half of all people. Millions die owing money. But what happens next is far more shocking than you think. Because in the US, dying can trigger lawsuits, collections, locked bank accounts, frozen assets, sometimes even battles over your own body, all because of debt. Today, we're going deep into the hidden world of what really happens when someone dies in debt, and why it's becoming the new American normal. Every year, millions of Americans pass away, and nearly 50% of them die with debt: credit cards, medical bills, auto loans, mortgages, even student loans for degrees they never finished. Families left behind don't just deal with grief, they deal with fear. Questions like, are we responsible? Do we owe this? Will collectors come after us? And the uncomfortable truth is that in America, debt doesn't disappear. It transforms. It shifts. Travels through legal loopholes, probate courts, estate battles, and collector tactics until anyone pays. If the person who died can't, then the system looks for the next closest target. Why do so many Americans die in debt? Because for decades, the cost of living has grown faster than income. Wages barely move, but housing costs explode. Car payments are now higher than most people's rent used to be. Medical bills can wipe out savings in a single day. Credit cards are everywhere, and interest rates trap people for life. Add inflation, childcare, student loans, and the fact that nearly half of Americans have less than $1,000 in savings, and dying in debt becomes the predictable outcome, not the exception. Most Americans die owing over $60,000, and that number keeps rising. Now here's where things get dark. When someone dies, their financial identity doesn't vanish. It activates a system. Their credit report gets marked. Your social security number gets flagged. Banks freeze their accounts. Money is locked. Creditors are notified. And debt collectors, they move fast. The financial system treats death like an unpaid bill, and unpaid bills attract collectors like sharks. What most people don't know is that collectors are allowed to contact surviving family members. They can't legally force payment, but they can use guilt, pressure, and emotional manipulation. Lines like, "We need to discuss your father's remaining balance," or "We hope the family wants to do the right thing," are very common. They can imply responsibility without saying it, and grieving families often fall for it. But the truth is this: most family members do not inherit debt. However, the person's estate does. It's their money, house, car, valuables. Those can all be taken to pay debt before the family receives a single dollar. This process is called probate, a legal autopsy that dissects your life to see who gets what. If there's $20,000 in the bank but $40,000 in debt, the creditors take everything and the family gets nothing. And if the person had a cosigner boom, the debt transfers instantly. If they had a joint credit card boom, the debt continues. And in community property states like California, Texas, and Arizona, a spouse can sometimes become responsible even if they never saw the original bill. One of the biggest contributors to debt at death is medical bills. In most developed countries, people don't go bankrupt for getting sick. But in America, a single emergency room visit can cost a month's salary. A broken arm can cost more than a vacation. A surgery can cost more than a car. A cancer diagnosis can cost more than a house. When someone dies with medical debt, hospitals are often the most aggressive creditors. They file claims. They pressure families. They push everything into probate. Because medical costs are unpredictable, families are rarely prepared. There's also something most people never hear about: the after-death economy. When someone dies, entire industries make money. Funeral homes upsell grieving families on caskets, flowers, urns, and services. Probate lawyers charge hundreds of dollars per hour to handle estate paperwork. Debt collectors purchase dead debtor portfolios at a discount and chase families for profit. Even state governments profit from unclaimed estates. Dying in America isn't just emotional, it's financial. It activates a chain of profit for multiple industries. And the emotional toll? It's brutal. Families who already feel broken suddenly face paperwork, bills, collectors, and legal threats. Siblings argue over who pays funeral costs. Children realize their parents had no savings. Spouses learn that a loan they never signed for now affects them. Debt doesn't just take money. It takes peace, trust, and stability from the people left behind. The crazy part is that most Americans don't realize they can avoid 80 to 90% of the problems this script just described. Simple will can save thousands. A trust can avoid probate entirely. Life insurance can protect families instantly. Designating beneficiaries on accounts keeps creditors away. Separating credit accounts prevents debt transfer. Not co-signing loans eliminates surprise responsibility. And medical directives can prevent unnecessary medical bills. But most Americans don't do any of these things. It's not because they're irresponsible, but because the system is complicated, confusing, and expensive. So when we say 50% of Americans die in debt, it's not just a statistic. It's a symptom of a system where debt is built into the culture. A system where people work for decades and still leave nothing behind. A system where debt outlives the person who created it. Understanding how this works isn't just helpful, it's essential, because the system isn't changing anytime soon. But your decisions, your planning, and your knowledge absolutely can. In America, debt lasts longer than life, but it doesn't have to define what happens after you're gone. The best protection is awareness, preparation, and understanding the reality that most people never talk about until it's too late.